What's going on, everybody? I'm Primalliquid and welcome to my challenge run for Final Fantasy VIII. This time we have a little bit of a weird challenge. Can we complete the game only using draw and magic? Now this sort of defeats the point of the junction system in FF8, because ideally you always want to keep your magic at 100 for the junction stats. Combined with the fact magic is pretty useless outside of a few spells in the game, and that monsters level up with your characters, meaning as I get stronger magic, monsters are going to be getting stronger as well. So I have to choose if I want weak magic and weak enemies, or stronger magic and strong enemies. But like always, I'm writing this script as I go, so I have no idea what's going to happen in this run, and it's going to be interesting to see if it's actually possible or not. Spoiler, there's a real big brain strat somewhere in this video. Let me know which part you think it is. With that said though, let's get into the rules, shall we? First and foremost, I am only allowed to use the abilities magic and draw. I am not allowed to use normal attacks, items, or limit breaks or summons. And yes, that includes Selphie's limit break and Renoa's Angel Wing limit break. Items are allowed outside of battle though, and finally, passive abilities from Guardian Forces like Auto Haste and No Encounters are allowed. Now, unlike my previous challenge video, I haven't actually done any theory crafting for this run to make it more exciting for myself. As such, right now, there's not much I'm worried about, but I have a feeling that's going to change. There's also for sure going to be a lot of card playing, I think. Getting magic early on is going to be important, and I'm just hoping I can farm the spider boss in Dollop for some easy AP, but I'm not sure I'll be able to. We'll have to see. But before that, I just want to say these videos do take a very long time to make. So if I could ask you guys to leave a like and a comment down below, let me know what you think is going to be the hardest part of this run. Also, down in the description you'll find links to all my social media, including Twitch, where I stream parts of these challenges every week. And last but not least, for those who really enjoy my content, maybe consider becoming a supporter on either Patreon or YouTube memberships. Both are linked down below with my Discord server, which you should also totally join. Now, let's get into it, shall we? Squall gets mutilated by Cypher, and then it's back to school like nothing ever happened. I interact with the computer to get Shiva and Quetzalcoatl right away and equip them to Squall. I equip the magic and draw commands, and then set Quezo to learn HP Junction and Shiva to learn Ice Magic Refinery, then move on. I get my cards from the guy on the bridge and head out of Garden. Once Quistis joins the party, I give Shiva to her and also equip Draw and Magic. Once outside, I head to the nearby forest and find a caterpillar mob and draw 100 cures for both characters and 100 thunders for both. Afterwards, I junction thunder to Squall's magic and cure to Kirsty's spirit. Then I go toward the mountains to fight Glacial Ice to draw blizzard magic, again 100 for each character. During this, I come across a lone bite bug, so I also draw 100 fires. Afterwards, it's time for Fire Cavern. I'm not too fussed with this place and proceed through by spamming Blizzard at everything that comes between me and Ifrit. Then, just before I get to Ifrit, I heal up with Cure Magic and enter the boss fight. As you would expect, I spent the entire fight casting Blizzard on him while he was slowly whittling me down with Fire Magic and some physical hits. But as you would expect from a tutorial boss, we have no issue, and after about 10 Blizzards, he goes down. I didn't even need to heal. After the fight, I equip Ifrit to Squall and get him to learn the Elemental Defense Junction, and since Shiva learned Ice Refinery, I change her to learn the Vitality Junction. Then it's just a case of leaving Fire Cavern. Once outside, I don't go back to Garden, however, instead I head to Balam to find the Queen of Cards. I use her to change the card rule to all, then head back to Garden, since we're going to win some cards. Now, back at Garden, I save in the lobby, then win the Minimog card and the Quistis card while increasing my stock of all the cards. We're going to be refining a lot of these later on into magic and useful items. My main goal here is 5 Abyss Worm cards so I can get 100 Tornado spells. A couple of others I really watch out for are Trifaces for Pain Magic later and Gala for Meltdown Magic later. Since I aren't allowed to use limit breaks though, I completely ignore Quistis' limit break items. Granted though, we don't have the abilities to make use of these items yet, so instead I move on to Dollars without grinding them out. Once in Dollars, I equip all GFs to Cypher, and then give him all of the magic from Quaestus and top him up to 100 spells by taking some magic off of Squall for him. After that, I use Shiva's Ice Refinery to refine the Arctic Wind I won from the Glacial Eye into 20 Blizzard. Then in the next fight, I use Cypher to kill off Squall and Zal to keep their levels low and proceed through the forced battles until the bridge area. Then I grind here with Cypher. I use him to learn all my GF abilities and to raise my levels at my average party level while still keeping Squall and Zal low. What I want is an average party level of 30 so I can draw Curaga, Fireaga, Thundaga and Blizzard magic from the soldiers here, and I want to learn all of my GF abilities since I won't have an opportunity like this to grind without raising levels again. Once I unlock card mod, I go ahead and change all my cards into items, and then refine them as well into new magic like Blizzaga and Tornado. Also, once Cypher reaches around the upper 30s in levels, the average party level is over 20, so I can draw the raw spells from the enemies on my way to getting the Gar spells. These raw spells are pretty much just going to be used for casting so I can save my good stuff for junctions. Once I can finally draw the Gar spells, I stock up on 100 of each, and then I actually give them to Squall. Then I fight again and draw 100 more of each and give them to Zal. Finally, I enter one more fight to draw 100 more of each of them to keep on Cypher, and then I proceed on. A few screens after the bridge, I also get into a battle with Anacondas to draw 100 bio spells, before finally moving on to the communication tower, where I revive Zal and Squall and change everybody's junctions for the next boss battle. We start off with Biggs and Wedge. I draw a couple of Isunas, not too many though, before I start casting away and kill them off pretty quickly. Then Alvaret spawns in. I make absolutely sure to draw Siren, then I use all 3 characters to stock up on some doubles. I'm not getting 100 for each character here, instead I'm just getting about 100 total, since I'm going to move them all to Squall anyway. After that, I try casting a few low level spells, but the damage is horribly low. So I resort to casting my Gar spells through double for about 800 damage a turn with Squall, and just a couple hundred with Zal. But all in all, since this is technically the first real boss fight of the game, it went pretty smoothly as to be expected. I think if I didn't grind with Cypher to get the Gar spells, this would have been a game over moment though, due to not having a high enough magic stat or good damaging spells. Next up though is the X-ATM. Normally, this guy lets me learn every GF ability available. However, since this is a magic only run, it means I'm pretty much limited to my Thundaga magic count. As such, while I do get some kills before the bridge, I do get a couple on the bridge as well. Ultimately, I don't actually farm him much because of the fact I'm going to need Thundaga later, and I won't have a chance to restock them for quite a while, hence my need to save them. I do one final battle with the boss in front of the pub though, and draw a few protects from him. Then I draw cast protect on each party member and cast double on everybody. Then finally I draw cast a cure on Zal since he's low, and now it's just a case of constantly casting, double casting Thundaga. Thanks to Protect, he barely does any damage each hit, while he's constantly getting hit by 6 Thundagas, really bringing the hurt to him. He also goes down pretty quickly. The sad part is, once it's destroyed, you can get one of 4 items as a reward. An Orichalcon, Power Wrist, Hypno Crown, or Force Armlet. Each of these items teaches a GF an ability which is 40% to a specific stat. I was really hoping for the Hypno Crown since it teaches magic 40%, but instead I got the Orichalcon, which is just VIII 40%. Not the end of the world, but still kinda annoying. With that though, the boss is scrap metal and we return to Balam as triumphant heroes, and we become full-fledged seed members. Now, I didn't bother worrying about my seed rank since I just raise it with passing the exams. Not like I'm really going to need any gil anyway, and FF8 also just throws tons of money your way as well. Back in Balam, and then I play cards with Zal's mum to get Zal's card. Then it's off to the ball. Literally, we meet Waifu for the first time before she NTRs us with Cypher, so we go have a date with Quistis, which ends with us saving some kids from the Grinaldo and Raldo bosses. Raldo doesn't have anything worthwhile, but Grinaldo sure does. I get 100 of all 3 spells on both Squall and Quistis, which is Sleep, Blind and Shell. Before I proceed to get Squall draw casting Fire Magic and Quistis using her stock of Fire spells. Each mob ends up going down in 1 hit. Granted though, we already have some really good junctions, and that's one of the easiest bosses in the game. Next up is Diablos. Normally I would get everybody to level 30 to draw Flares and Holy from him, but this time I'm not going to do that, and instead I'm going to stay low level. I start off by casting Blind on him, which pretty much ensures he'll never be able to kill me while I whittle him down with some weak magics like normal fire spells. But then the worst thing happens and he kills Salfi with a lucky hit. At this point, I start worrying a little and switch over to using my stronger magic with Squall, like Fire Rigger. I also get Zal to set up double on Squall, and right after this, Diablos gets another lucky hit in, killing Squall. Great. The last character I have is Zal, who has a low magic stat. I set up double and proceed to spam double Fire Riggers, each dealing about 200 damage. A few more turns later and he eventually falls, thankfully. I was pretty lucky here, to be honest. It would only take 1 hit for him to game over me at that point, so the blindness really came in handy. Then I equip him to Zal, so all 3 of my characters have the ability to junction stuff to my magic stat, and head back into Garden and go to Sid's office to play cards with him so I can win the Cypher card. After that, we're off to Timber. The group gets high and hallucinates on the way before we join the Resistance. We ignore their cause though and play cards with Watt to win the Angelo card from him, before meeting Waifu Renoa. Then we fight the fake president. This is a 2-stage fight. The fake president goes down in just 2 hits before we get to the real boss, Gero Gero. Now, this guy is annoying because I want to draw his magic from him, but he has 2 attacks that can really screw me here. Silence, which means I won't be able to use draw or magic, and Berserk, which will force a character to attack, which, needless to say, is against the rules for this run. I start off by filling up on Isuna before Squall gets silenced, and before I can even cleanse it off of him, Salfi gets hit by Berserk, instantly ending this fight, since I have to reset now due to her attacking. This means I'm going to have to give up on drawing his magic, I think, and just kill him off with a Curaga spell, since he's undead and takes damage from healing. It's just a shame though, I would have liked to have all 4 spells, but his Berserk attack is just too risky. So the fight starts off with Fake President again, who just gets annihilated once again. Now, as soon as Gero Gero shows up, I murder him with Curaga before he has a chance to use Berserk on me, while crying that I couldn't draw his magic. Siren also learned Mage bonus this fight, which I instantly equipped. Now, whenever the person who Siren is equipped to levels up, they will gain an extra point in their magic stat. It's at this point Renoa becomes mandatory in the party for a bit. So, sorry Zal, but I prefer my Harem. I do have to be very careful and save often now though, because Renoa's limit auto-activates, and limits are not allowed in this challenge, so if it does activate I have to reload a previous save. Back at Timber though, the pet shop is now open, so I buy a bunch of Amnesia Greens and make the GFs forget the useless abilities like Summon Magic and GF HP, then I move on. I get the Girl Next Door and Timber Maniac magazines from the Maniac building, then it's off to the pub. Cypher appears and we can finally leave Timber after becoming public enemy number 1. Thanks Cypher, I appreciate it. I don't head to Galbadia Garden right away though. Instead, I go to Dollet first and collect the Timber Maniacs magazine here, and I also use RNG manipulation to remove all the card rules from here. If you want the exact manipulation and how to do it, then check out my Final Fantasy VIII playlist where I have guides for removing rules from all areas. After the rules are removed, I go ahead and win the Siren card from the pub owner. I'm also going to be ignoring the Obal Lakeside quest and return back to Timber to stay at the hotel for another Timber Maniac magazine. Now it's off to Galbadia Garden, where our party eats some random mushrooms and hallucinates again. Before we find out Renoa slept with Cypher, Cypher is now dead and we have to assassinate somebody. You know, the usual stuff. Before we go murdering the sorcerer though, I'm going to manipulate Trobia's card rules here, since it's far easier to do it now here in Garden than it is later in Shumi Village. After this, we head on over to grab Sacred and Minotaur. The first fight with Sacred goes nicely. I draw 100 of each of his 4 spells for everybody, which is Life, Berserk, Protect, and Shell. Now I can finally revive in battles, and I can protect myself against Berserk with status defense junctions. After I have the magic, I murder him with fire. Due to keeping my levels as low as possible by going everywhere on the world map via pathways as much as possible to avoid random battles, Sacred stats are low compared with my good junctions and my good defense. Sadly though, due to not being allowed to run from battles, my levels are still climbing slowly. The silver lining here, however, is I nearly have encounter none for Diablos. Next, we have Sacred and Minotaur together. I start off by casting Protect on everybody by drawing it from them to keep my own stock safe. Then I do the same with Double. After that, I simply proceed with spamming fire magic via double casts to quickly kill them off. Because they can even do anything to me, this challenge so far is going easier than I expected. But I guess that's what happens when the junction system is involved. Still, I shouldn't get cocky here since we are still only on the first disc. So I junction brothers to Selfie and move on after setting it to learn HP plus abilities. Now for the Iguin boss battle. They have a move which can petrify me, and needless to say, that would be bad. So I give Siren to Squall and Junction Break to status defense to protect myself from it. Then once the fight starts, I draw Carbuncle instantly, as this is my second GF with status defense, something I really need. Then I have Irvine cast Blizzerer to get rid of my low level spells, and then Squall casts Quake, which one-shots them both. You gotta love card mod in this game for getting overpowered magic early on. After the fight, I take Siren off of Squall and give it to Renoa along with Carbuncle. I set Carbuncle to learn status defense right away as well. And now it's the final fight for Disc 1, Cypher and Edia. Neither of them have any magic worth drawing, so I murder Cypher with simply 2 fire casts from Squall. For Edia, I draw cast double from her, and then I set about double casting Fire and Firega, really bringing the hurt to her for a quick, painless win. Afterwards, we play house with Squall's dad, mum and sister, then wake up in prison. Quite a turn of events, isn't it? We have another boss fight with Biggs and Wedge here, and they aren't useless for once, as Biggs actually has some good magic for me to draw, so I stock up on haste, slow and regen from him before I proceed to murder them both with Fire and Firega. It's also this fight which finally gives me no encounters on Diablos, just in time as well, as the prison is also where I play cards once again. I use the save point on floor 10 to reset my RNG counter, and then manipulate the RNG with the card player on the 11th floor so I can win 3 Rosetta Stones. An item which teaches GFs the 4 times ability. Again, like other RNG manipulations, if you would like to learn how to do this, I have a video on my channel explaining how it's done. Just check my FF8 playlist for it. So once I get my 3 stones, I use them on Shiva, Ifrit and Quetzalcoatl, as they will always be equipped on the 3 different party members. So Trobia Garden gets nuked and we go play cards with Caraway. We lose our Ifrit card to him so we can use his Renoa card, which we end up winning. Somehow though, he lost our Ifrit card to somebody else in the 0.3 seconds it took me to re-challenge him, so we'll have to get that back later. Next up is the base commander at the missile base, who has Reflect for us to draw, before we blast him and his goons with fire. Now that's followed right up by the big old tank boss 2.0, which has nothing good to draw, so we just nuke it with thunder magic and then zap the soldiers right after as well for a quick and easy boss fight. Back at Balam, we defeat all the goons and protect Sid. Then it's off to save everybody from missiles. We just can't get a break, can we? We do have a battle. We do have to battle the Oil Boil though, and I know I pronounced that wrong. Please forgive me. However, they're weak to fire and have no useful draws, so I'm sure you can imagine how this turns out. Now, if I say I used Fire Rigger on them, yeah, you can pretty much guess. Squall does nearly die, however, so I make him cast Cura on himself before I murder the last one off with Fire Rigger. After this, before fighting Norg, I tackle the first part of the CC group side quest by playing cards with Jack, Club, Diamond and King. Then I move on to Norg. The battle with Norg starts off horrible. Squall gets hit by Silence, and guess who has my Isuna magic? So I have to use just Zal and Quistis to pummel the Norg pod with Blizziger until it finally breaks open to reveal Norg himself. I instantly draw Leviathan from him and drawcast Isuna on Squall. Then I get Squall to use Tornado, which Norg is weak to. Norg gets revenge though and kills Squall. Thankfully, Zal has life magic, which I use to revive Squall with, but before I can cast Tornado again, Squall gets killed off. I revive him again, only this time I have Quistis heal him right away as well. Then it's just a case of a couple more Tornadoes for the win. But man, do I really need status defense on 3 characters. Silence is going to be a real roadblock for me at this rate. But next we have a blast from the past with the BGH 251F2. Just like before though, we have no issues dealing with it as we just abuse his weakness, Thunder, or in this case, Thundiger. He does manage to hit Quistis twice, taking her all the way down to just double-digit health, but me being cocky like I am, I don't bother healing and instead just continue blasting, as he falls, revealing our old party members. It's kind of weird they were driving that thing, but still trying to kill us. Oh well. After Renoa seduces us, Garden is mobile and we can explore the world. I hate going out though, so instead I stay home and complete the CC group quest. Now to win some awesome cards like Leviathan from Joker, Carbuncle from Zoo, and finally Gilgamesh from Kirstis. Using RNG manipulation, I also remove the rules from Fisherman's Horizon. Again, if you want to know how, then check out my FF8 playlist. And then I win the Quetzalcoatl card from the Mayor, and I win Ifrit card from Martin, who's now here in FH as well. At this point, I card mod all my level 1 to 7 cards along with Quistis, Leviathan, Carbuncle and Renoa cards. Then I use these items to teach GF abilities or refine them into magic. The most important one here is Auto Reflect, which is going to come in handy later. It's also here I also take all the useless low level magic away from Squall, Zal and Quistis and just dump it onto Salfi and Irvin. Now I have plenty of GFs but not many abilities learned due to trying to keep my levels low. So I take Garden and head for Cacti farming on Kentra. Now due to their high defenses and how quickly they flee, this is a long and arduous grind. It's gonna be worth it though. Next up I head to Shumi Village so I can get 300 of the best spell in the game, Ultima. At the entrance to Shumi Village, there's a draw point. It costs 5,000 gil to use, but contains Ultimate and it recharges every so often. So I simply keep running laps around here, drawing Ultimate until everybody has 100. I'm going to be back here pretty often, I think. Now I have 300 Ultimate, I junction that to everybody's magic stat for the best boost and head over to Kentra Ruins for Tonberry King. First though, I need to murder 20 Tonberries. This is pretty straightforward though, it takes about 50 Fire Rigger casts to kill each Tonberry, so needless to say I had to fill up with card items. When I got around 18 normal Tomberry kills, for the last 2 though I did resort to casting Ultima because it was faster, only needing 5 casts per Tomberry. Once the 20th dies, Tomberry King spawns in. I manually cast haste on everybody and then get Squall to give Querystes triple, while Querystes and Zal begin spamming Ultima. On Squall's next turn, I make him cast triple on himself, and then he resumes spamming Ultima as well. Now, as you level up, Tomberry King can get a stupid amount of health, hence why I started to set up triple and haste. However, with me being a low level and the fact I was getting off triple ultimas for about 5,000 damage each, the fight ended after about 15 to 20 ultima casts, which was quite lucky because I had actually forgot to protect myself against death. But hey, I'll take all the luck I can get this run. Once the fight's over, I equip Tomberry onto Querystes and set it to learn Haggle first. Shame I'm not allowed to use its level up or level down abilities, otherwise I'd really have some fun getting some overpowered magic for everybody. Oh well, that will have to wait until later, I guess. Anyway, it's off to Balam to continue with the story, now to fight Raijin, who has nothing, so he just gets ultimate to oblivion. And then it's a joint battle with him and Fujin. I make sure to draw Pandemona from Fujin before moving on to spamming Ultima, where they both go down pretty damn quickly to it. I junction the new GF to Squall, and then I do part of the Queen of Cards side quest so I can get the Irvine card and the Kyros card. I also win Pandemona from the hotel owner in Balam. I visit Trobia where most of Selphie's friends are dead and we find out we're all orphans. What a plot twist. I win Selphie's card here as well. I mod the Kyros card here for 3 accelerators, which teach auto haste, and I give them to Shiva, Ifrit and Quetzalcoatl. I finish the side quest in Shumi Village for a status guard, and I mod Selphie's card into 3 elemental guards. I use 1 elemental guard on the 3 previous Guardian Forces and status guard on Queezo. And last but not least, I do the Chocobo Forest side quest since I need the Chocobo card later. Now it's time for war with Galbadia Garden, where we fight Cerberus, and man, I kind of feel bad that I can't mug that speed junction scroll. But what can you do, you know? The fight is beyond easy though, and it goes down in just 3 ultimas. The joys of keeping my levels low. Anyway, I junction it to Selphie and move on to Cypher, who again has nothing worth drawing, so I just Ultima him in the face. Next up we have Cypher again, who goes down to 3 ultimas, followed instantly by Edia. I draw Alexander and spam Ultimate. She does manage to kill off Squall with Death, but I know I can kill her off before she kills me off. So instead of reviving Squall, I go ahead and just spam Ultimate a few more times for the win. And with that, we are on to disc number 3. Rinoa is now in a coma. I win the Edia card from Edia, and it's off to another Laguna Dream where we have to fight a Ruby Dragon. But it goes down in a couple of Ultimas without being a threat at all. Now, we're about to have quite a long time before I can restock my Ultima magic. So I head to Shumi Village and fill up pretty much for the last time this disc. So now it's time to save Rinoa, and Edia also joins the party for a bit, just before we fight Abaddon. Shame I ignore her though for Abaddon, however it goes as you would expect. I spam Ultima and it dies in 2 hits. After another Laguna sequence, we're in Estar, the technology city that's so far ahead of the rest of the world it makes you think it was built by aliens. Now, I win the ward card from Odin, visit the stores, head to Tears Point and get Solomon's Ring, which I use instantly thanks to all the card playing I've done. I have enough items after using Alexander to get the Remedy Plus items. And now I have Doom Train, which I instantly started learning Forbidden Medicine Refinery. While I'm in the area, I used the rocket sites to remove card rules from the Lunar base as well, so I don't have the trouble I had in my 100% playthrough with getting the Alexander card and Laguna card. Once this is done, I blast off into space because for some reason this game decided it needed space adventures along with time travel. Then it's over to Zal, where I absolutely make sure I get the Speed J skull inside Looney Panda before it's over to Squall the Spaceman. I get the Alexander and Laguna cards, then Renoa goes crazy and tries to kill everybody. Ooh, Squall sure chose a winner here. Anywho, Squall, being the genius he is, decides to jump out into space to save Renoa. Then we end up on the Ragnarok. The propagators are beyond easy, however, each dying to just a single ultimate cast. Squall and Renoa enjoy 2 minutes of happiness before Renoa is gone again. It's no wonder the guy is so depressed all the time, nothing ever seems to go his way. But I have an airship now. Next, I win the Squall card from Laguna on the airship and do the Queen of Cards side quest for the Chubby Chocobo, Phoenix and Doom Train card. And now I head over to the island closest to heaven and island closest to hell to stock up on some overpowered magic like Ultima, Meteor, Triple and Full Life. Even though I already have a ton of these from playing cards, I can finally fill up, including getting Meteor, which is going to be my new go-to spam attack. Now, it's time to get my remaining Guardian forces like Jumbo Cactus. The problem here is I need to be quick and he will counter every 5 attacks with 10,000 needles. So I set up by having everybody's magic with water in slot 1 since Cactus is 2.9 times weaker to it, and I have full life in the second slot so I can revive ASAP, and finally I have a triple in slot 3 to open up with as quickly as possible. Once the fight starts, I set up triple and then proceed to have each character triple cast water. Well, so I have 1 cast water, 1 cast ultimate and 1 cast meteor, so I can see which deals the most damage. And of course it was meteor. So on turn 2 I set about getting everybody to spam meteor, and because the damage is just so high because it hits an entire 10 times, dealing between 6 to 10,000 damage. And thanks to triple it goes off 3 times, meaning it's actually doing between 18 and 30,000 damage per turn. So this huge Cactus goes down before he even gets a counter off and before he can run away. Now this is the point I'm going to actually level up. Not too far though, because I don't want monsters to get too strong. So what I'm going to do now is equip Cactus on Squall, and then I have Siren, Brothers, Carbuncle and Leviathan on Renoa. And then I give them both magic bonus, HP bonus, VIII bonus and spirit bonus. Then I swap Selphie out of the party for Irvine, but I don't junction anything to him since he's just going to die instantly. Then I head over to the island closest to heaven and get into a fight. It starts off okay with a Tri-Face which I can kill with a death attack, but try as I might, I just can't kill anything else on these islands. So I have to default back to the training center in Garden for my leveling. I go into level 62 on Squall and level 55 on Renoa. I murder the Grats with Firegat and the T-Rexes with Death. Then once I'm done, I just refine more of them thanks to all the items I've got from playing cards so much. I also go back and restock spells from the 2 Death Islands. I'm not actually going to level Selphie here since keeping her low level will give me a lower average party level, meaning monsters and bosses will be weaker. So with that little grind out of the way, it's time to head over to get my last 2 GFs, Bahamut and Eden. So it's off to the Deep Sea Research Center now because I need Zal in the party here, so I swap Selphie out for him. The battle with Bahamut goes much smoother than I thought it would. Because of my levels, even with Zal lowering my average, Bahamut was more than likely high enough to have maxed out strength. So an attack from him would have hurt like hell if not outright one-shotting somebody. So I start off by casting triple on everybody and then start the meteor spam. Because my magic stat is so high now, each hit is doing about 1000 damage, but it hits 10 times, meaning it does about 10,000 damage. And because I have triple, it's 30,000 damage per turn, which means after just 2 turns of 6 sets of Meteor, Bahamut goes down before he can really do anything to me. In the Ultima weapon fight, I instantly draw Eden and then go about setting up triple on everybody. And right as soon as I do that, Ultima uses Gravager on me, reducing everybody's health by 75%. So I get Squall to triple cast Curagot on everybody to heal up. Then I go back to spamming Meteor before he ultimately goes down. Thankfully, I didn't even see him use Light Pillar, which is guaranteed 1-hit kill on anybody it hits. So that was nice. But now I think it's time we got back to the main story and head off to Looney Panda, where we have to fight Fujin and Raijin again. But let's be honest here, we're really strong and we have Meteor. So needless to say, Fujin and Raijin don't have happy endings here. Next up is Mobile Type 8. I set up triple first and proceed to spam Meteor. Now this is the slow method, because Meteor hits 10 times total across all enemies and the 2 probes take very little damage. I could have used Ultimate, which would deal more damage to the main body. However, due to the fact I have Ultimate tied to my magic stat, I want to keep 100 of them for as long as possible. So even if it takes a little longer, I still opt for the Meteor spam. Next up is Cypher again, and just like every other time we faced him, he's a complete breeze who gets steamrolled by triple Meteor spam. And with that, it's time to move on to disc number 4, and a really annoying boss fight. Adal and Rinoa. If Rinoa dies, it's game over. So I start off by casting Regen and Shell on Rinoa, and then set up triple on myself before I begin spamming Flare on Adal. Sadly, Meteor is out of the question here since it would hit Rinoa as well. So I just have to default back to a single target spell, and Flare is the strongest I have in that category. The 11 sorceresses are beyond a joke, however, with each going down in just 1 Meteor cast, apart from the last one, which requires a handful of Meteors. She does manage to get off an ultimate, but that only deals about 2000 damage across the board. Nothing to worry about. And now it's time for the final stretch, the final dungeon. However, first I go back to my Ragnarok and fill up on all my used magic again for one last time. However, now we're in trouble as well. Inside the castle, all of my abilities are sealed, and I'm left with just the attack command. Now, in order to unseal my abilities, I need to kill the bosses. So, is this challenge dead? Nope. Instead, I equip Auto Reflect and take on Sphinxer. He only has 10,000 health, however, because of the fact I can't do anything myself and I have to rely on Auto Reflect, he's only hitting himself for about 200 damage a turn. This means I need to sit here and wait for him to attack himself for a whopping 50 turns. Thankfully though, he only knows magic like Thunderger, Firegger and Blizzardger, so he can't hurt me since everything he does will be reflected. However, it's a nightmare and the worst possible case scenario. Sphinxer eventually changes and turns into Sphinxera, and that means its moves have changed as well. It no longer casts offensive magic, instead it has Doom, which can't be reflected. So now I have no way of damaging it and I die to Doom. At this point, I try a few of the other available bosses, but sadly they just don't have magic that can be reflected back. I spent about 3 hours running around this castle trying to fight some of the different bosses, but no luck at all. It's just a shame Sphinxera knows Doom and I have absolutely zero ways to stop it. If Chocobo World was in this version of the game though, then I could do it with the help from Ribbon. But currently the only way for me to get Ribbon is with Angelo's Search in the remaster, which counts as a limit break, which means I can't actually use it. At this point, it looks like the run is all but dead in the water since I can't progress. There is, however, one more thing I can try. There's a completely useless ability in the game which I wholeheartedly believe nobody watching this video would have ever used before, and it's called Return Damage. It returns 1/4 of the damage you take to the enemy, and to get it you need a 100 needles item, which you refine from 100 cactus thorns. So I grind them out until I have 3 characters with return damage. I also change my junctions around to make sure I absorb all elements, and finally I equip Auto Potion as well to Squall and Selfie. I really wish this game had an auto regen ability, but this is now quite literally all I can do without using a command in battle, so I hope it works. I try on Tiamat, but he only uses Dark Flare, which I absorb completely. And because I absorb it, it doesn't return any damage, so he's out of the question. That leaves Sphinxer that I can't, well, I can actually fight right now, but, you know, he doesn't really return much either. However, me being a genius, I slowly creep around his hitbox without getting into a fight, letting me slip past him to try other bosses. So I try VIII first, who is beyond weak, which means my return damage is going to be really low. Oh, and he has Doom, so needless to say how this fight turned out. However, I find a silver lining, a fight I might be able to win even if it takes a really long time. The Red Giant. He has 30,000 health and return damage only deals about 100 to 500 damage a time. Thankfully, he can't out damage Squall and Selfie's Auto Potion. Shame Renoa doesn't have it though because of this, even though it's slow, like seriously slower than a slug. It should be possible to win, and eventually that's exactly what happens. An entire hour later, he eventually falls and I can finally unlock the magic command. My first order of business now is to leave the castle and save, along with reviving Renoa. And now it's payback time for Sphinxera. Ah, revenge. A dish best served with triple meteor spam. God, that felt good after the doom. Once Sphinx is down, I unlock the draw command, and since they are the only abilities I'm allowed to use this run, I now go straight for the final boss. Right after I use Tomberry's Call Shop to restock on potions for Auto Potion, that is. So, let's do it, shall we? Straight off the bat, I'm an idiot because I forgot to take off Auto Reflect from Renoa. Luckily though, Selfie and Renoa are in my starting party, so I at least have 2 characters to deal damage for me. I blast through Ultimatia's first form pretty easy with some meteor spam, while Zal does die. I continue with the spam and Quirsty's dies as well. But now we're on to Griever, and again Quirsty's gets replaced by Irvine. Really doesn't want to let me have my proper party here, does it? Anyway, while continuing the meteor spam, I completely forget about Shockwave Pulsar and I get game overed. Brilliant start, so let's try again. This time, thanks to actually sorting my junctions out beforehand, things go much smoother for me. The first stage of Ultimatia dies really quickly to triple meteor spam. Not before I set up Shell though, ready for the rest of the fight. Then, once Griever is out, I make sure to fully heal, ready for Shockwave Pulsar. However, thanks to Shell and rejunctioning before the fight, it barely did anything to me. Okay, third form of Ultimatia, and she's junctioned to Griever, but it doesn't do much before it dies to triple meteor spam. Time for the fourth form, and I'm still only on 2 party members. Why can't Squall just come and help already? Anyway, this time she's still junctioned to Griever, but they kind of lost half their body. Again though, nothing difficult, and it's over pretty quickly thanks to Triple Meteor. And now it's the 5th and final form. Still no Squall though. Zal does end up joining me, but he has no magic and is therefore useless. Early on I get hit and Renoa and Selphie's health gets lowered all the way down to 1 HP, so I very quickly cast Triple Curiga here. However, because of the shell, it means my Curiga is less effective as well. But since Selphie has Doom on her, I make sure Renoa gets the double Curiga and Selphie only gets 1. This happens twice in the fight overall, but after a ton of Triple Meteor spam, the fight safely ends. And we get to enjoy the ending that totally doesn't point to Renoa being Ultimacia. And yes, before I get comment spammed, I'm well aware one of the devs has debunked that theory, even though he wasn't the one who actually wrote the story, so it's not like he can or not, but I'm digressing. Yeah, anyway, we beat the game! It only took 45 hours as well. However, this was thanks to the triple speed booster in the remaster. Once you factor that in, it would have been quite a bit longer. And I must say, it's weird playing FF8 and actually using magic instead of just spamming Renzo Kukan on everything. It was actually quite a bit easier than I was expecting as well. It's been that long since I've played FF8 and used magic other than Aura that I forgot just how strong Meteor was. But it was certainly fun, that's for sure. Especially the problem solving in Ultimacia's castle so the run didn't die there. I have to admit, that's probably the biggest range strat I've ever thought of for these sorts of challenge videos. But let me know down below what your favourite part of this run was. Anyway everybody, I hope you have enjoyed this challenge video. If you have, be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what sort of challenge run you want to see on what game next. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Remember to check me out on Twitch as well, where you can see these runs being done live, and make sure to follow my Twitter to keep in touch. Last but not least, anybody who wants to help support the channel, feel free to check out my Patreon or become a YouTube member. And make sure you all join the Discord server, linked in the description. We have some cracking fun in there. But thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you all later.